we want to see older people on television. We all age, we are all getting older, and we want to see that life doesn't end at a certain age and that love is possible at any age. I would assume that's why the viewership has gone up.
Well, and you mentioned that there's really no reality TV show that is featuring older people. It's really people in their 20s and 30s, right? Welcome to Aging in Style, the podcast dedicated to celebrating aging and what it takes to do it well. I'm Lori Williams. I'm a certified senior advisor and senior housing expert. In each episode, you'll learn stories of older adults who are thriving in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and in some cases in their hundreds. Whether you're an older adult or the child of an older adult, this podcast is filled with insightful resources, organizations that are doing incredible work, and stories that will inspire you to volunteer, learn, and who knows, maybe even skydive in your golden years. Hi, welcome to today's episode of Aging in Style. I'm so glad you're here, and you're going to be glad you're here too because you don't want to miss this show. Today, I have Sarah Paulin on. She works with me. She does all my social media. So if you're a fan of our social media, then say thank you to Sarah. She does a fabulous job. So we were talking about this show, The Golden Bachelor, that has premiered recently, and just kind of talking about different perspectives on it. And I had not seen it. Sarah asked me if I'd seen it, and I hadn't because I don't like reality TV. So don't boo me. I just don't like it. So I had not watched it. I've actually never watched The Bachelor either. I've seen like little pieces of it and just that, there's all the fighting and stuff. So it just was not my thing. So I didn't know if that's what The Golden Bachelor was going to be about. And Sarah was like, no, you need to watch it. So I did. And we talked about doing a show and kind of talking about the different perspectives that we have on it based on our age and like what our friends are saying. So Sarah is about to turn 30. So she is the younger group kind of watching this show. And then I'm about to turn, well, not about, I've got 6 months. I'm going to turn 60. So we're going to have, my perspective on it. So The Golden Bachelor, if you have not seen it, it is about older dating, basically. So the Bachelor himself is 72 years old, and we'll talk a little more about him and his story. And the women that he has to choose from range in age from 60 to 75. I think that was the oldest one. And the show premiered on September 28th. It comes on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock Central Time on ABC. And then the next day they stream it on Hulu. So if you want to watch it, that's where you're going to catch it. But so far there have been 2 episodes, and I watched them both on Hulu this weekend so that I would know kind of what's going on with the show. And I'm hooked. I mean, I really am hooked, and I have my my favorite already. So anyhow, that's what we're talking about today. And welcome to the show, Sarah.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course, this was your idea, and I'm so glad you told me go watch The Golden Bachelor. And I think I said to you, I don't watch reality TV.
Yeah.
So let's start off and talk about sort of like the premise of the show, which I do love this. What they're doing is they're breaking the stereotypical view of what aging should look like and what dating should look like. And so the Bachelor himself, he is 72, and his name is Gerry. He's a widower. I believe his wife passed away in 2017, and he has 2 daughters and I think 2 granddaughters, and they all encouraged him to do this. And kind of what are your thoughts on the Bachelor, on Gerry himself?
Yeah, so I've been very impressed by Gerry so far. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I think he's so sweet. He seems really genuine, and he's just so sensitive. You can tell that he's there for the right reasons. And he was obviously so in love with his first wife. And I think that is really, really sweet that they highlight that. And just after he lost her, he's just not ready to be alone. He doesn't want to be alone, and he shouldn't have to be. And so I think his desire and like pursuit of finding love is like very genuine. And so I really like him. I think he seems like he is a catch.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree. He's very sensitive. He's very open and genuine, and just, he seems to be very authentic. I did like in the very beginning, they show him getting ready and he has the picture of his wife. And he, talks about the story, what happened. And as he's getting dressed, he's putting his hearing aids in, which I
Mhm.
thought was really cool because it showed that, that he's aging and that he needs his hearing aids.
Yeah, I love that too because that's just a reality. And I think we need more of that on TV, just like showing real realities of life that sometimes you need hearing aids and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great.
I know it's not something to be embarrassed about. And I know I talk to so many people who you know, their parents won't wear their hearing aids because I guess they're
Yeah,
embarrassed about it. And I mean, why be embarrassed about it if it's something you need to live a better quality of life?
so true.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I mean, he's this wonderful, very kind, nice man. And he's also really good looking.
I really agree with that. I think he looks amazing for his age, and he has just like the best smile. Yeah, I think he aged very well.
He did. I know I was telling Sarah they were showing pictures of him like through the years, and I'm going to say he aged like a fine wine. I mean, he's much better looking, and sometimes that happens. Some people are much better looking older, which is interesting.
Yeah, but if I saw him, I mean, I would not have pinned him for his age.
Mm-mm.
I would probably have maybe thought he was like maybe late 50s.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. He does. He looks very young, and he has a youthful way about him too.
that might be
So
it. Maybe personality too.
yeah, he just has a youthful energy, which, I think a lot of the women also had youthful energy that were on the show. So, being my first bachelor that I'm watching, and Sarah did tell me this is how they normally do it. Like each woman, as they came, they did this special, like, a way to be remembered. And it was to me, it was a little cringy, but I guess that's what they all do on the show anyhow, right?
That is so every like the first episode when the man is meeting all the ladies, they always do something like each lady will do something unique to like stand out in his mind.
Mhm.
So that's normal for the show.
Yeah. Okay. That was the only thing I found a little cringy, but that's what they
I can
do.
see why.
Yeah. So the women, I mean, all were beautiful. Every woman was absolutely beautiful. They were all ages from age 60 up to, I believe it was 75 was the oldest. What I liked about them, I know as they came into the room, so like, they would go into a room and then, the next one would come in. So they were all in this room together after they met him. And they were all like, "Oh, you're so beautiful. Your dress is so beautiful." And I just thought that was really nice how they were supportive of each other, even though they're in this position of competing for this man's attention and for his love. But one of the ladies, I thought this was so sweet that I wrote it down. She said, "It's so inspiring to be with beautiful women who have been through life." And I thought that was very, just a really beautiful statement because these are women who aren't in their 20s. They have lived lives. Most of them have been widowed or divorced. I mean, they've lived life. They've had children, grandchildren, careers. They've been through a lot.
Yeah, I love that too. And I think that's really the difference, I think, from, this season compared to regular seasons is in the original seasons, you get a lot of girls that are like in their 20s, maybe 30s, and they've been through some things, but not at all like compared to what these ladies have been through, where they have had really big losses. And so I think that the way they view life at the age, being in their 60s and 70s, I just think their perspective is really different. And so that brings something new to the show.
Mm-hmm. And I hope it carries on this way where they are supportive of each other and that there's not going to be a lot of, cat fighting. One of the girls was asked to go on the date. I guess what is it? They give a rose and that's how you get to
Yeah.
go on the date. So the first rose was a lady named Teresa who was very sweet. She had been widowed as well. And one of the other ladies who's a hairstylist was doing her hair for her. And I don't know that normally happens, but I thought that was very sweet.
Yeah, the camaraderie is really special on this season. There's always a little bit of that, but I would say there's a lot of competitiveness normally.
Mm-hmm.
And this season, they are so sweet to each other and so encouraging and like emotional with one another. And one of the ladies I heard, she said something to the camera like, how is he possibly going to choose? He has all these like incredible women. And I thought that
Mm-hmm.
was so sweet of her to say that, thinking of everyone instead of like just thinking of herself.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I hope that continues on because I think that's beautiful. The other thing that they said, I just was kind of writing down different things the lady said as they came in and were being interviewed, but this is a second chance at love. Kind of the common theme with most of them is that they've been lonely and they want, they want someone in their life. One of the ladies said, I miss having my husband where I could say, look, isn't it beautiful out tonight? Beautiful sunset or whatever. And not to have that, you really notice that that's missing and not having that connection with another person. Because once you get to this age, I mean, your kids they're grown, they have their own lives, they're, not coming around as much. And so, I see how you could become very, very lonely being by yourself, especially if you're retired, which, a lot of the ladies, I think some were still working, but, some are already retired.
And I think that's so true. And I know I was telling you earlier, there's a few people in my life. My mom is, in her 60s. And so we have like family friends who have, been through divorce or their spouse has died, things like that. And that's what they tell us. I mean, they're just lonely. And I think it's harder. I'm not saying there's not people out there. I think there are, but I think it's harder to find someone when you're older. And there's different reasons for that. But it's just sad because I think it's just something a lot of people face. I think it's a huge issue.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think one of them said something about how nice it is just to be recognized and be told she's beautiful. And that women need that. No, we all need that. No matter our age, we want someone to notice us and recognize and say appreciate us and think we're beautiful. That doesn't go away. Even, if you're 101. And I was telling Sarah earlier, I met a lady at the senior center a couple of weeks ago, beautiful lady. And she was 101, which she did not look 101. And she was walking, she had a walker. But her hair was done. She had a really cute hairstyle and she had makeup on and all of her jewelry and everything. And we started talking and she told me she was 101. And after, I asked her secrets. And then when we were done talking, she said, well, I have to go. I'm looking for a new boyfriend. And I was like, oh, and I'm sure you're going to find one because you are a catch.
Oh, and I think that's so possible. Actually, I was thinking, so my grandma, who I've talked to you about before, my Mimi, she actually found a wonderful love later in her life. And I think they met when she was like 67 or so. And they dated for about 15 years until he passed away. And it was the sweetest relationship. And he was a bit older. I think he was maybe 15 years older. But they met at church and immediately hit it off. And they had both like lost people. And I mean, he was like almost like a second grandpa to us. It was just so sweet to see. I mean, they were so in love and they found that much later in life. And so it's so possible.
It is. One of our teammates, we just had a team call prior to this recording of the podcast. And she mentioned she just went down to meet her mother's new boyfriend. And, it was someone that she had met, did she say in high school? I think she said they went to school together. Yeah. And they reconnected at a reunion. And then he just came back to town with her and they've been together ever since. And that he was very sweet. And I think that's the other thing with an older relationship. It's not like you're going to have a 2-year courtship. It's going to typically move pretty quickly, for obvious reasons. But it's interesting because I've had several people tell me this, that they have a significant other, but older in life, they don't necessarily want to marry the person. They want to have them in their life and be a couple. But there's financial reasons why they don't typically want to marry, because you're getting Social Security or you have all your assets that you've built throughout your life. So I totally get that, but just kind of something to hit on because I hear that all the time. So many people that, have found love later in life, they don't usually get married. I mean, some do, but not all.
No, I think that's true.
Yeah. So you also mentioned something which I thought was a very good point, that the Bachelor series had been like dropping in viewership. So share what you were sharing with me earlier.
Yeah, so I was reading a little bit about this, and over the past few, like, I guess, like about a decade, it looks like the views have been like really going down on The Bachelor on cable, and so every year the views just kind of drop by like a few million. And this was the first time in about 10 years that the viewership actually like spiked by a few million on the premiere night. And then also the Golden Bachelor was the most watched premiere ever on Hulu. And I just think that says a whole lot about viewers. I think
Mm-hmm.
that for me, what I read from that is that we want to see older people on television. We all age, we are all getting older, and we want to see that life doesn't end at a certain age and that love is possible at any age. And I think I would assume that's why the viewership has gone up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, and you mentioned that there's really no reality TV show that it's featuring older people. It's really people in their 20s and 30s, right?
Yeah, I'm a big reality TV person. It's like my guilty pleasure.
That's why
And
you're on this show.
but yeah, I was thinking, I was like, I cannot think of a single reality TV show that features older people. Like, I really can't even think of one. Maybe there are some out there that I haven't seen. But I feel like the majority they're, showing people who are in their like 20s and 30s, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it was super cool that this came out, and I think it's helping the Bachelor franchise do better, and also get viewers from people that are older are now wanting to watch the show, and so that's helping them get viewers too.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we talked to our friends. Sarah talked to her friends who are younger. I talked to my friends who are a little older. And I actually put this out on Facebook. And I want to read some of the responses I got. So, what I did, I just asked, who's watching The Golden Bachelor? And I want your thoughts. We're recording a podcast and I want your feedback. And so, I would say the majority of people who responded are in there. I'm looking through here real quick. Yeah, 50s, probably up to 60s. So these are some of the responses. I love it. Great to see no matter your age. Love is always possible. Love it. I think what it shows is you can find love again after losing your spouse. I think this is helping the ladies feel more confident getting back out there. And he seems to listen to them, which he really does. Absolutely love it. All the women are so gracious and he's a beautiful man inside and out. I've been watching it, enjoying not seeing the younger drama. Watched the first 2 episodes last night, seem more genuine, and the women are supportive of each other, hoping it stays that way. Love, Gerry. I love it. It's so refreshing to see women support other women, and Gerry is truly so caring and supportive. I'm watching it. It's interesting. The ladies seem to be a nice group. Hopefully it does not get ugly as the younger girls on the regular Bachelor. And there's a theme for people my age. See, we don't want to see all the fighting. Hope these women don't end up acting like the younger women typically do on these shows. So that's so funny, right? Because that's kind of like my whole reason why I don't watch it. Because I'm like, oh gosh, I don't want to hear all this screaming and drama and all that,
Yeah.
So kind of what's the feedback on your end?
Yeah, it's very, very similar feedback. The number one thing I kept hearing my friends say was just that they kept crying, like watching the show, they were crying. And I was thinking about it, and I got a little emotional, especially on a few of the different scenes where they're talking about like losing spouses specifically, and especially Gerry talking about losing his wife. I mean, it's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason that like a lot of my friends like legitimately cried is maybe it reminds us of like older relatives that we know who have lost people, or it makes us think that like I have a husband right now, and it makes me think, oh my gosh, like that tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Mm-mm.
And that's scary. And I think that like, I don't know, I think the show just like resonated with a lot of my friends in like a very emotional way for some reason, where I would say the normal, show does not do that for us. We like it. It's a fun watch, but it's not stirring up like emotion. And so I love that this season is doing that, actually. I think that's really cool because it makes you think. But yeah, the number one thing was just the emotion. And then secondly, everybody loves how sweet the women are to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, those were like the two number one things.
Yeah, good. I would agree with you with stirring up emotions. And I did tear up in one scene when they were doing like this photo shoot and all the women had like costumes that they could choose. And so I think you had to kind of be quick to get, you didn't necessarily get the costume you wanted. So this one woman, Nancy, got a wedding dress. And so and she's an absolutely beautiful woman. She put the wedding dress on and she started crying. And they're like, "Why are you crying?" And she said, "Because the last time I wore a wedding dress was when I got married to my husband. And it was like 30 plus years ago and he had died. And it just was so," she said she had all these unexpected memories. It took her back to her wedding day. And the things she said, and I love this, she said it made her cry and everything, but it was the joy in remembering. And I just
Yeah,
thought, oh man, that's so sweet.
that is really, really
I
sweet. Yeah,
know that one. Oh, that almost got me again. That one really got me. And she actually is my favorite pick so far for Gerry. But anyhow, maybe
yeah.
because of that.
I like her too.
My other favorite pick for him is Teresa. And I
Hmm.
liked her and I liked something she said because, we talk on this podcast about you're never too old to try something new. And she said to him, hey, they were on their date together and she's like, we could just go learn Italian and go to Italy together. And he's like, yeah. And I'm just like, I want to do that. How fun does that sound? So,
Yeah, that's
and I
awesome.
loved it because that's, she obviously had the mindset of you're never too old. You can do anything.
Yeah, no, I love that too. And those are my top picks as well.
Yeah. And of course, I think has he been on a date? He hasn't been on a date with Nancy yet, but they sat together and she told him why she was crying when they were doing the photo shoot. And it was very touching.
It was sweet too how after he like got the picture framed, he like had the picture
Yes.
framed of them sitting together and she's in the wedding dress.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically he wanted it to be like the positive memory.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so sweet.
That was super sweet. So the other thing that you mentioned, which I thought was a really good point, was how the producers could maybe do some things to help be a little more age appropriate on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think yeah, they're used to, having the 20-year-olds on, but I think they really should have thought a little bit harder when making this season to make the women more comfortable. Like one of the first things they had the women come in and go to their bedrooms and they have bunk beds. And one of the ladies is like, "I've had my knees replaced. Like I can't climb up there." And so I think they really should have thought more and been a little nicer about the bed situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also thought not having the ladies, and I wasn't the only one. I mean, the women on the show are talking about why would they have to stand at the rose ceremony? I mean, I'm sure the filming is like probably over an hour
Mm-hmm.
and they're having to stand there
In
and why not?
heels.
Yeah, in heels. Oh my, I couldn't do that now.
Uh-uh.
And so why not give them chairs? And even the scene where Gary is driving them, let's see, no, wait, he's driving Teresa on the date. And you can tell he's so anxious. He's driving his convertible, the lights aren't working, it's nighttime, he's not familiar with the road. And so I just felt like they should not have made him drive. Like that made me sad for him. He was so
No,
anxious.
he did. He looked really stressed, and he said, he's from where is he from? Like Iowa or somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
somewhere up there.
yeah. It's one of those I states. I'm sorry for people in I states. I always forget. I'm sorry. It was Iowa or Indiana.
I don't remember honestly.
I don't either. Anyhow, and he's like, I've never driven. I think they're in LA, and it's all the traffic and everything. And he did look really stressed. And he's in this older car. It's a antique car because they're kind of going, with this whole theme, I guess. And it's a convertible, and you can't get the lights to work right. And he's on this highway, and the truck goes by and honks. That
Yeah,
scared me.
yeah. And then the lady, like Teresa, her hair is like blowing on her face. I mean, they just looked
I
uncomfortable.
know. And she had spent time getting her hair done. So I don't know that they need to rethink that and agreed about the bunk beds. That was my first thought. I'm like, oh my God, who's going to have to go up top? And then one of the ladies said, I just need to be close to the bathroom, which I mean, please, after a certain age, we all need to be close to a bathroom at night. Okay. So yeah, I think I agree. Those are some things they really should have thought out a little more.
Yeah.
So, but okay, so we'll kind of wrap it up with who is your pick for Gerry? Do you have a favorite? And I know they're so early on.
Yeah, it's so early. So far, I would say, I mean, really Teresa or Nancy, but they've also gotten a lot of screen time.
Yeah, true.
But there were a few other ladies that I thought seemed really sweet. I'm interested to learn more about Edith. She
Oh,
seems
she's
really,
beautiful. Hmm.
yeah. Leslie, I thought was interesting. I don't know if she's right for him, but I think she seems really cool and like
Hmm.
fun.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see them more,
Hmm.
a little more screen time.
Yeah. I agree because there's some. So I was looking online at the list and kind of reminding myself of all of them. And there are some that we really haven't learned much about them yet, and they could be the right one. You never know. But I'm leaning towards Nancy right now too. But again, it's only the second episode. And then the only thing, and I know this only shocked me because I don't watch The Bachelor, but I was like, they're like all kissing him on the lips, and I'm like, wait, what is happening? Is that just, do they usually kiss like every single person?
It really depends on The Bachelor, but a lot of times, especially on the younger season, and actually on this season too, the women will make the first move. And so even if the
They are.
guy, like,
Hmm.
yeah, so even if the guy's like, I'm not going to kiss anyone on night one, the girls are like going in for it, you know? He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I was kind of like, oh, hello. Okay.
Yeah, I think Nicole mentioned this earlier when we were all talking for our team meeting, but there was like a behind the scenes thing, and Gerry apparently promised his like grandkids and kids he would not kiss anyone on the first night, and he broke his promise.
Yeah, he did. Now, he did not have a choice on a couple of this because you're right. They did kind
Yeah,
of go in and kiss him, but he kissed them
yeah,
back.
yeah, he did.
So the other thing, that we were talking about is that he's very sensitive, and you can tell when he has to give the roses out and certain ladies don't get a rose, which means they're going home. That's been really hard for him. Is that typically the way it is on The Bachelor, or is he just very sensitive about it?
So I would say typically the guys get emotional when they've got maybe three or four women left, maybe
Hmm.
five women. But the
Hmm.
fact that he is emotional this early on, like, they're always really sweet when they let girls go.
Hmm.
But I was pretty shocked. I mean, he was like crying on the second episode.
Yeah.
And so that is very unique. And I think, yeah, I think that's just because he's has a sensitive nature, but
Hmm.
that is definitely not normal for the show.
Okay. Yeah, that's brutal though. The roses. I mean, I would hate to be the one going home early, especially.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Gosh.
But I was thinking, like, if he's that emotional now, I'm very curious to see how he's going to handle it when he's got like two ladies left and he
Oh
has to choose.
yeah, that'll be
That'll be,
interesting. I
yeah,
know. Do they get engaged at the end?
they do. Yeah, they get
Okay.
engaged. Yeah, so that'll be interesting too.
The other thing that is unique about this one is that he has grown kids and grandkids. So whoever he picks, they're going to be a good fit with his family too. I was thinking that a lot through this too. Like who would be, because there's a couple that I'm like, I wouldn't want her to show up as my stepmother. But so whoever he picks, I mean, it has to be obviously a good fit for him, but also a good fit for his family too.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting this year because it'll actually be flipped. So usually when you get down to like the final three, the ladies they go and meet the parents. They meet the parents and the
Oh,
grandparents,
okay.
but it'll be totally flipped to the season because instead who he chooses will be meeting his kids and his grandkids.
Hmm.
So it'll be the complete opposite.
That'll be
Um,
interesting. Hmm.
yeah, I think that I'm very interested to see those dynamics.
Yeah, me too. Okay, I am completely hooked on Golden Bachelor, and I'm in it till the end. I don't. How many episodes are there typically, Sarah?
Oh gosh, I don't want to tell you wrong, but I feel like maybe 10 or 12.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay. Well, I'm in it. I want to see who he chooses, and so we may have to come back and do an update when we find out who is selected and kind of what else we learn because we're very early in the season. But I think everyone should be watching it. I think it's very interesting, and it's interesting for society. I think, and that we are embracing romance for older people.
Yeah, and I think it's cool too because right now, I mean, Gerry is like trending in like pop culture, and he's in
Yeah.
his 70s. And that's really cool to be hearing about someone that's older.
Yeah, that is good. Trending
Kinda-
because of, youthfulness, really, because he's dating and, this whole, for good reasons to be trending.
Yeah, it's just different to have someone trending that's older and it's very positive, and I love
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, me too. So, well, thank you so much, Sarah. Thanks for having the idea and telling me to watch reality TV, which I am doing now.
Anytime.
All right. And y'all turn it on, go check it out and let me know what you think. Send us messages and share this with your friends and families. And let's just see how we are changing our society for the better. And I love seeing positive aging, and this is positive aging. So thanks for listening, and be sure to tune in next week, and we will talk to you later.